Good morning, good morning, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are in the world. It is Cassandra Terry, and it's hump day, y'all. We are at the middle of the week. We are getting through a new week, and I hope that we're doing better than just getting through, but we're actually surviving and thriving and accomplishing our goals. I am Cassandra Terry, your manifesting miracle maker. And on Wednesdays, we call it Wake Up Wednesday because we talk about the importance of being intentional. Being intentional means that you're putting thought into what it is you're doing, why you're doing it, that you actually are tapped in, you're connected with your desires, you're clear about what they are, you know yourself, and you are ready to tackle whatever it is that you're after. Whatever your goals are, you set them, you're clear, they're smart, they're specific, they're measurable, they're attainable, they're relevant, and you've got a schedule around them. So you've moved from dreaming to actually working towards accomplishing the things that you desire. And being intentional gives you that tunnel vision. It helps you to focus in on what those goals are so that you're making good decisions that are moving you towards those goals instead of taking you farther away. I've got a quote for you guys this morning. I see a few people have joined. Good morning, Kimberly. Good morning, Shay on Instagram. I see Alicia and I see Outer Space Mommy. Welcome to you both. I see quite a few people have joined in from TikTok as well. Drop me a comment so that I know that you stuck around and I can say good morning. Good morning. Is it Trey? Is it Tria? I hate to mispronounce your name, but I see you there. Good morning to you. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I have a quote for you guys to start the day. I try to find quotes or interesting articles and then kind of summarize those sometimes with the key points. Trey, nice to meet you, Trey. Thanks for joining in. So this morning's quote comes from Richie Norton, and Richie Norton is a published author, does a lot of lots of books around things that I think you guys would be interested in. So take a look. It's Richie with an IE, Richie Norton. Um, let's see. Thanks for the follow, Trey. I see you there. I appreciate it. He says, intentional living is the art of making our own choices before the choices of others make us. So think about that. When you're intentional, you're locked in, you're clear about who you are, you're clear about your boundaries, you're clear about what it is that you want to accomplish. So you're intentionally making choices. You're not being made by the choices of others. That's the difference between reacting and responding, being reactionary and being responsive. When you're reactionary, you're at the mercy of your external whatever's going on externally, right? Whatever's going on around you, you're reacting to that. So you're not actually in control. Whatever's happening has your attention, has your control, and you just respond. And you stay kind of in a heightened emotional state when you're being reactionary, when you're being controlled by the choices of others. But when you lock into who you are and what your desires are and what's important to you, and you have that aligned with your value system, now you're aware. If you think about a day, even this morning, it's only 7:21 where I am in the Austin, Texas area. It's 7:21. I've made a lot of choices. I decided to get up this morning. I decided what I was going to wear. I decided that I was going to leave my hair in the same ponytail because I didn't want to deal with it yet. And it's hot. I didn't want to have all this hair on my neck. I decided that I was going to go ahead and do the live, whether I was tired or whatever. My husband and I decided we weren't going to go to the gym this morning. We were going to rest in a little bit and have a rest day. So lots of decisions have been made already. I got up and I got my work laptop done, all set up because I've got meetings that start right after this. So I prepared for that. I made a choice so that I wouldn't be so rushed at the end of this, that I wouldn't rush through and not maybe say some of the things that's important for me to say. And I also wouldn't slide in unprepared and not, focused when it's time for the work day to start. A lot of decisions have been made already. We're making them, but sometimes we're not conscious that we're making them. When we get intentional, we tap into us first. We know what's going on with us first so that we can make the right decisions for the life that we are committing to create, the life that we want to have. Good morning, Sierra. Good morning, Karen. Good morning, Trina. Tiffany, my baby sister, I see you're on. Michelle, I see you're on as well on Instagram. Welcome, everybody. I appreciate you guys locking in. We're just starting to talk about being intentional and how being intentional really supercharges your life, because it's like you see the horses with the blinders on, they are really focused on where they're going. They can't see what's happening to either side of them. So somebody intentionally focused the attention of that animal so that it saw straight ahead. If there's something happening to the left, something happening to the right, can you imagine trying to win a race when you're being distracted by the crowd and everything that's going on either side of you? You're not going to get very far. You may not even realize when you've been passed up, or when you've moved over into someone else's lane, or when you're completely off course. Being intentional focuses you in, it gives you that narrow vision for a moment so that you can accomplish what it is, the task that you have at hand. And you will do a better job of it because you're locked in. So being intentional is a superpower. Being focused, the ability to focus our attention for a period of time is a superpower, especially in this day and age when we live by sound bites and memes and bleeps and blips. Anything beyond that, and we start to drift away. So I'll say the quote again. Intentional living is the art of making our own choices, which to me is the core and part of the very definition of freedom. It's making our own choices before others' choices make us, before their choices make us emotionally spent, before their choices make us live a certain life, before their choices are in control of how we move and how we feel and the life that we live instead of our choices. It's the choices of others. That's what happens when you're not tapped in. That's what happens when you haven't done the work to determine what's important to you. So that's where it all begins. Any and everything that I talk about, regardless of the day of the week, because Mondays we talk about mindset, Tuesdays we talk about transformation. Today is Wednesday, Wake Up Wednesday. We always talk about being intentional. But it all starts with one thing: awareness. Where you have awareness, you have the ability to do something different. You can affect change. So sometimes we don't tap in and we don't become aware of ourselves because we've trained ourselves, or our world has trained us. The environment that you grew up in taught you that you were supposed to behave and you were supposed to think a certain way. And anything outside of that, we kind of push it down. We try to ignore it. We want to pretend that it's not there. But tapping into your whole self and really getting clear about what you want and what you desire and what's important to you. And even the stuff that comes up when the negative stuff comes up, instead of wrestling with it, instead of fighting it, or instead of trying to ignore it, if we tap into it and listen to it and see what it is that's playing in here, then we have the ability to change it if it's not something that's serving us, if it's holding us back, if our mental messaging, that automatic messaging that's going on in our heads, if it's telling us that we can't, we don't have the ability to do something, or we shouldn't, we don't deserve to do or have something, that messaging will hold you back even when you don't realize consciously that it's there. It's playing all the time. It never stops. It never stops. It's playing all the time. And your body is being controlled by those choices. Those are not your choices. Those are messages that were created based on how you grew up, the environment that you were in. Maybe somebody said something negative to you at some point in time and it really stuck. Those things begin to seep in and change how we think and feel about ourselves. And as they do that, we begin to act accordingly to that message, even if we're not really hearing it. The work of our lifetime is to get to really know us. Get to know yourself and what's going on inside your own head. If you do that, you set yourself up to be able to affect change. You can transform that negative messaging. You can change how you think and feel about yourself. And when you do that, you change and think and feel differently about the world, about relationships. I have people in my life that I have loved unconditionally forever. But because they have different messaging going on, sometimes I find myself in the most awkward, surprising, uncomfortable situations because I will say something and mean something, and then it gets filtered through their own messaging, and then they hear something completely different than what I intended, and then they're off to the races. I knew you were this and I knew you were that and you're no good and da 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 da. And it just bubbles over. And I'm like, man, how did this happen? How did we get here? I only said this. I intended to articulate that, but I can't control the receiver. I can't control how you filter a message. It's even happened on lives before. I used, I was talking about something. Oh, how I like to tell you guys where I get the information from. So if I quote somebody, I'll say the name of the person I'm quoting, or if I've read an article or a book or something like that. I was just making the point that everything that comes from my mouth isn't just pure Cassandra, because then it's not based on a lot. It may be based on my life experience, but there's a lot of science, there's a lot of other life experiences, there's a lot of people who have written and accomplished great things, and I tap into that, and then I will articulate back to you guys what I've read. I read a lot, and so a lot of what I pull out is because of something that I've read at some point in time, and when I know where I've gotten it from, I like to share that information. It gives you a source. You don't know me. You may know Richie Norton. He's everywhere. So you can go look at his quote. You can see what we're talking about is based on. You can see other things that he's written. And so I like to give you all those resources. Somebody heard me say that and stopped following me and became very offended because they thought I was saying that they were misusing my stuff. They It was one of my favorite followers because they were so active and they shared my stuff on their pages and they would quote me and they always tagged me when they did it perfectly. I always got the credit for what they were doing because they were actually sharing my blog or something I had posted. So I wanted 1,000 of those people, 10,000 of those, of somebody just like that. But when they heard me say that, they pushed it through their lens and took it to mean that I was offended that they were sharing my stuff and were thought they were somehow taking credit for it. I didn't mean that at all. I miss having that person around. They were very interactive and encouraging and was always putting my stuff out there. But there was something that was going on inside of them that filtered what I said through their processing and found offense in it. And because of that, I lost a follower. Miss that person to this day. Never met them. Only had interactions through social media like this. But it really bothered me that something that I said offended somebody so much that they had to make, a drastic change like that. But at the same time, I can't control anybody else's filter. I can control my intent. I can be careful about what I say. But what you do with those words after they've left my mouth and they've entered your ears, it's up to you. There's nothing that I can do about that. Good morning, Julia. Thanks for joining. So it's really important to understand that about yourself. Your intentions are your intentions, and you have to honor yourself. You have to set your boundaries, and you have to be able to stand 10 toes down with what you say and what you do and how you say it and how you do it. So if you do find yourself in a situation where unintentionally or intentionally you have offended somebody, then you can apologize because it wasn't your intention, And you can try and right the wrong and help them understand. But then after that, it's up to them because they're filtering everything through the best way that they can. No, Julia, I am not a teacher. I actually work in corporate America in cybersecurity and compliance. So, Julia, oh, you followed as well. Thank you so much. You have to leave me a comment. What made you ask that whether or not I was a teacher? I have given birth to a teacher. I have a sister that's a teacher, so I certainly respect their profession, but I don't have the patience for all those kids at once. I would go nuts, I think. So I totally respect what teachers do and wish I could do it, but I know I can't. Thank you. She said my skin is glowing. I did moisturize this morning, Julia. So good morning, Jennifer, my Coco. I see you're there as well. And Karen, I'm not sure if I acknowledged you, but good morning. So back to being intentional. There's a few other new folks that have joined. So let me read the quote to you guys one more time. Intentional living is the art of making our own choices before the choices of others make us. That just sang to me when I heard it. Because when we're living on autopilot, we are absolutely living at the mercy and at the choices of other people, the things that have been filtered into our lives over the years. And if it's a positive thing, if it's something that is moving you through and getting you to the life that you desire, no harm, no foul. That's great. But if you tap into your negative messaging and you hear yourself consistently saying things or feeling things about yourself, sometimes we are afraid to be positive about ourselves. It sounds like we're bragging, but I want to challenge you about that. A little brag, especially a little internal brag, it's necessary. You have to be able to encourage yourself. You have to be able to see the progress that you've made, the good that you've done, and let that be an encouragement to you. So don't be afraid to look yourself in the eye and say, girl, you did that. Don't be afraid to accept the compliment. I had a habit of, it was like tennis. If somebody gave me a compliment, I was batting it right back. It was uncomfortable because I'm like, they don't know all the mistakes I made to get to this point. They don't know. It does, all that doesn't matter. All of that living that you did was your preparation to get you to not only where you are now, but where you're going next. So just keep reframing those messages as they come up. Sonia said, tapping into that negative, that is a powerful encourage yourself. Exactly. We have to learn to encourage ourselves and be okay with that. There's a whole world out there that's ready to beat you down. You have to be able to combat that. When the crowd isn't cheering, you have to be able to cheer yourself on. It's important that we can encourage ourselves. And how do we do that? We tap in, we hear the things that we say negatively about ourselves, and we start to reframe that. I have a cousin that I am forever grateful to because he caught me one time where I was really on autopilot about the negative messaging that was coming through. Good morning, Kingston. Thank you so much for the follow. I appreciate it. Julia said, I thought you were talking to a class. Oh no. I come on live, Julia, every day, Monday through Friday, and we talk about different things, primarily about mindset and goal setting and the things that you can do to increase your chances of successfully accomplishing your goals. So that's what the mission is, helping you to tap into that inner voice so that you're aware of what may be holding you back internally. We see the stuff around us. I've got a bad boss. I had a difficult childhood. I have a mean husband or a mean wife or whatever. We can see all those things externally that are in our way. And sometimes those are things that we can't control. But if you tap in to you and you feel right about yourself, then you will change even how you see and approach those things that you know are difficult externally. Internal thoughts are so much more powerful than anything that could be happening to you externally. I take our slave history, for those of us that are African or African American, I take our slave history as the most poignant example of that. Imagine growing up in a time where you don't have the right to take care of your own children. You don't have the right to be married. You don't have the right to speak your own language. You don't have the right to do anything other than what you're told. And there's severe punishment if you do anything other than what you're told. And then when it's time for them to count, you're not even a whole person. You don't even count as a one. You're less than a whole person. So to grow up, to be in that environment consistently year in and year out is a part of our history. Yet, here we are. That's not our story. That's our ancestors. We stand on the shoulders of those people, but those people did not believe that they were what society told them that they were. They didn't believe what society told them that they should have. Otherwise, they wouldn't have fought and changed it. What was going on in here was different than what the circumstances around them dictated and said. And because they believed differently, they did differently. They did something to change the external. And we all have that in us. It is buried intricately into our DNA. We have the ability to change what doesn't work for our lives. But sometimes we're so busy just living and going through the motions that we forget that. Kingston, yes, I do talk about anger from time to time. It all kind of gets filtered in. But if it's ever a topic, if there's ever a topic like that you specifically would like to hear me talk about, just drop me a DM and I can plan something specifically around a particular topic. So just think about that. Coming from such a violent and dark history, here we stand. I see Courtney joined on Instagram. I happen to know Courtney, and Courtney travels all over the world. Courtney has raised a beautiful family and boys that have gone off to college and experienced, D1 athletics. I know she's at least a registered nurse. She may be even more, farther along in her profession than that, but I see her all over the place. But our history comes from slavery that says we're not even a whole person. I'm a senior manager in corporate America. I manage managers, and I'm looking at even I'm kind of being auditioned right now for even a bigger role. But my history, there's somebody in my family that didn't even have the right to the language that I don't even know. But here I stand. So that's why our external circumstances, yes, they're important and we can't ignore them, but you manage them differently when you stand in as a person of value, when you stand as a person that's deserving, when you know who you are. When you know who you are, what's going on around you, it may affect you, but you don't allow it to seep in. It may put some constraints on you, but you start working on those constraints. You start looking at ways to get out of that situation because you know that you know that you know that you deserve better. You deserve more. When you know that, you move differently. You shift. You make better choices. You make different decisions and you set yourself up for the life that you desire. So if you look around today and you evaluate your life and it's not the life that you desire, you don't use that to beat yourself up. You don't use that you don't punch yourself while you're down. You use that as a starting point. And instead of looking at all the things around you that led to that, start to honestly evaluate your choices, your intentions, and what you might be able to do differently. So I might not be able to move right now. So I may not like the neighborhood that I live in, but I can start making choices that will prepare me to move. So instead of that Starbucks, maybe I make my own coffee. Instead of watching the movies all night long, maybe I'm studying something that's in the profession that I want to get, that I want to advance in. You see what I'm saying? So what's happening around you? You may be in the situation that you absolutely don't want, but you can start to slowly, choice by choice, do things differently to move you towards the life that you desire. That's completely within your control. Completely within your control. You have choices. You're making them all the time. Be honest with yourself and evaluate whether those choices align with your goals. And if they don't, it's just a data point. Don't beat yourself up. Don't get down on yourself, because that starts a whole nother spiral that's going to lengthen the time that you're down and out. What I'm encouraging you to do is take that honest look and evaluate and assess. And then where you see that where you can improve, do just that. Improve one step, one choice at a time. That's how you're intentional. That's how you get the blinders on, and don't look at all the pretty objects and all the noise and everything that's going on around you. You have to drown that out. And directly in front of you has to be the life that you desire, deep down inside, what it is that you want. And then once you lock into that, every decision, every choice, every activity, you can ask yourself, is it moving me down the road towards the life that I want, or am I backing up? Have I somehow broken into, am I moving away from my goals? And if you are, then it's time to make some different choices. But you're aware. We're back to awareness. Now that you're aware that you've been on autopilot, now that you're aware that you've been self sabotaging, now that you're aware that you have this negative messaging going on, you can start to reframe that. You can hear the negative message. I started to talk about my cousin a few minutes ago. We were at my aunt's house and we were all outside, all the first cousins and stuff, just hanging out, having a good time like we used to when we were kids. And we were all talking, and I said something self-effacing, something kind of negative about myself. And he goes, "What? That doesn't sound like you at all. Why would you say that?" Went by, it kind of stuck to get that response. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. I don't know why I'm being so negative. And then we're back into the conversation. And then I said something again. And I said something again. And he stopped me and he goes, "What is going on with you? You're one of the most accomplished people I know. You have a great life. Why do you say stuff like that about yourself?" Stopped me dead in my tracks. Because now he's asked a question. I could brush it off, but I'm better serving myself to really think about it, ponder on it, and realize that I had a habit of making myself smaller, a habit of dimming my light, a habit of, they're probably thinking something negative anyway, so I'll beat them to the punch. I'll say it as a joke, and now there's nothing for them to say. Just this habit that had developed over time because of some of my own personal history. I had developed this trigger response of throwing out these little negative things. I've heard a lot during my life, especially as a young person, that I thought that I was better than everybody else. I've never met an individual, and I never will, that I'm better than. We are all flesh and blood human beings. So regardless of our circumstances, they don't make us better or less than. They are what they are. And we, depending on where we are, need to do the work to get where we'd like to be. So I don't believe in this better or worse or less than or more than around things. But I have a lot of people, especially because I came out of the situations that I came out of. I have a lot of people who believe that about me. They absolutely think that I think that I'm better than them because of something financial or some accomplishment or whatever. It's not true, but there is absolutely nothing that I can say that's going to convince the people that believe that, because they've got that's how they see me. That's how it's labeled. So a lot of things that I say are going to be filtered through that, and that's going to be their trigger response. And they're going to, oh, well, she thinks she's better than me anyway. She thinks she knows everything anyway. Look at her sitting up there talking to people like she knows what she's talking about. I bet they don't know she did this or she said that. That's my life. That has been my life. And that put me in a box for a very long time, especially when it came to doing things like this. Social media is so volatile. Like, even as we're sitting here and people are scrolling, some of the things that people are saying are so rude, so unnecessary, but it doesn't have anything to do with me. It has to do with that individual. There's something in you that makes you wake up and want to go and hurt other people. It's sad. It's sad if that's your existence, if that's the thing that gets you going every day. It's absolutely sad. It has no effect on me because you don't even know me. You have nothing that I want. I probably have nothing that you want. You don't pay my bills. I don't pay your. That connection isn't there. So as you scroll and you say mean things, it's a reflection of you and who you are as a person, not of me. The fact that I will not squabble with you, the fact that I'm not going to come down to that level and deal with that is what is reflecting of me. That's who says who I am because I'm responding. I'm not reacting. I'm choosing how I show up. I'm not letting the choices of other people make me act badly, make me come out of my character. Toya says, hurt people, hurt people. Exactly. And when people are mean to me, when people say rude things to me, that's usually what I wonder what happened to them. I wonder what their story is. I wonder why they live the way that they live, just lashing out and always ready to hurt people. And 9 times out of 10, it's because they're hurting and they're operating from a place of pain. And when we realize that, it will increase our empathy, decrease that trigger response to want to get with them and match the energy, and it actually helps you create the environment that you want. I can't control other people's volatility. I can't, but I can control my response to it. And I got two of them. I'm probably going to remove myself and just not be around you and in your space or limit our interactions because I can't live with those emotional roller coasters. I don't, well, I could, but I don't want to. I choose not to. I've already done that for a good portion of my life and I won't do it anymore. So it's a choice. I choose who I interact with and how much I interact with based on how somebody just made me laugh. Remy says sometimes people need a good old fashioned going off on their ass. It's true. I mean, I understand where you're coming from, Remy, and I don't deny that. Sometimes you do have to really set your boundaries and hold them hard and let people know that they've crossed them and get them back on the other side. But that takes a lot of energy when you're going off on people. Sometimes it gets out what needs to get out. Trust me when I tell you, I'm not always in my zen mode. I'm not always operating at my highest self. Sometimes I lose it just like everybody else. And I remember that there were times where I was up here just way too often in screaming matches with people and going back and forth and trying to prove my point. And they've won already. They've got me emotionally charged and they've got me where they wanted me to be because they're hurting. So they want to see me all out of pocket as well. And now they've gone on about their business, and I'm left with that ick all over me. I'm left with it. And I've got to do something with all that nasty energy and everything that's been spewed all over me and that has come from me. I've got to clean that up. Otherwise, I pack it with me all day long. All day long, it's going with me and it's affecting everything else that I'm doing. So I try really hard to go, oh, beautiful soul, and remove myself from those situations. Let's see. Kim said, yes, it's sad because people are just people. Words are powerful. Mindset is the key, and I get away from them, whoever it is. Definitely won't apologize for their negativity. And she said, you're hilarious, Remy. And Sonia, I saw a message from you. Let's see. When I prayed not less than an hour ago, I asked for him to help me with the negative situation I'm in on my job. It led me to Psalms 142. Thank you for the confirmation because I deserve better. When we know that we deserve better and our expectations are for better, everything else will start to align because you're going to see the better. The things that aren't better, you're not going to tolerate. You're going to change. You're going to change how you see yourself. I was one of those people who kind of suffered from imposter syndrome early on in my career. I mentioned that I'm in information technology. I work in a computer company and we do all this stuff in the cloud. And I've been at my job for 23 years as of March 6th. And I For the first 20, it feels like it may not have been quite that long, but for much of that career, I just felt less than because my background, I was a project manager on the team, not a coder, not the ones that have all the high technical skills. So I had a hard time seeing my own value. And because I didn't see my own value, I walked in a lower position. I was less likely to speak up. I was less likely to challenge, even when I knew that the route that we were going down may not be the best route. And it made me smaller. It made me smaller. And eventually I started to tap in, which is why I do the work that I do now, which is why I show up, because I know how powerful it is. I personally know from my own experience how powerful it is to tap in and realize your value. Guys, when I started to see for myself what I was bringing to the table, it changed everything. Now I can see myself as a manager. Now I can see myself as a senior manager. I can see myself as a director. I can see myself as a VP. Those were things that weren't even on my radar a few years ago because I just didn't see myself capable. Remy says, I worked in a similar role. I'm in systems administration. I put my foot down and they started playing childish games. I ended up getting terminated. Oh my goodness. I'm sorry to hear that. I hope you found something that's a better suit for you. Or you may be entrepreneurial and want to do your own thing or be a consultant. If you're off work right now, that's a lot of people's story. There's been a lot of layoffs and crazy things that have been happening in the workforce. It sucks. It's painful to all of a sudden your livelihood is gone. The way that you make your money and pay your bills is gone. Tough situation to be in, emotionally, spiritually, financially, however you look at it, it's difficult. So the first thing, so one after you deal with that initial emotional reaction and you start to come down a little bit, use that time to really evaluate what's important to you. What is See yourself in your next role. What are you doing? What type of environment are you in? Are you with a large company, a small company? Are you doing something on your own? Get intentional and tap in there as well so that you don't just do what you've always done. Remy said he's a system admin, so he could easily go in for the next system admin job. I'm looking at your picture and just continue down that path. But maybe after this experience, you're thinking differently. Is this really what I want to do? I've got a family member who didn't re-sign her contract. She's at least changing jobs, but potentially changing careers. She's in a period now where she's really thinking about, what do I want to do next? I've been doing this for a long time. I've got a lot of skills. I have a great work history. Do I want to take that and catapult me into something differently? Or do I want to keep climbing the ladder where I am? Ask yourself those questions. I see my Aunt Karen is on the line. She's been in the medical industry for years, and now she's thriving as a real estate agent. She decided that what she had been doing wasn't the ideal use of her time, wasn't what she enjoyed as much as she used to. She was drawn to something else and she did the work. You can't just pop up one day and you're a real estate agent. You have to take classes. You have to pass classes. You have to get a license. You have to park that license with a brokerage. There's work that you have to do. So it's one thing to dream, but it's another thing to really be intentional and put the actions behind that dream so that you can see yourself getting there. Blinders on, real estate license, selling that first house, whatever the big dream is at the end. And now she's obviously taken the steps to move her down that road. I see her now selling. I've got her card and stuff. I'm so proud. And that can be all of our stories. But first we have to be clear about what it is that we want. And then we have to be willing to make the sacrifices and commit to do the work to get us there. So I'm going to close with the quote again for you guys to take with you. So if you can jot it down, jot it down. I saw quite a few of you guys share the live. I so much appreciate that. Sometimes I forget to ask you to do it, but by all means, when we get together, share. I'll be back tomorrow. Tomorrow is already Thursday, and on Thursdays we talk about gratitude. Thankful Thursday, we'll be talking about gratitude and how you can use it as a tool to, again, propel you towards the life that you desire and get that inner peace that you need in order to stay up and keep accomplishing. So if you catch this later, again, I'm Cassandra Terry. Hashtag replay and leave your comments. I will absolutely respond to them just as quickly as I can. But I'm going to close for today. We've talked a lot about, even in being intentional, we're really talking about our mindset and what we're focusing on. And you all have the ability to do that. I'm here to help. The problem for most of us is that we're in our own way. And as a coach and mindset strategist, that's what I do, is help you to get out of your own way, help you to become aware of that negative self messaging, and then do the work to get out of your way and build a plan towards the life that you really desire. So I can help you with that. You can DM me for more details. But I've got pinned in the comments a link to my free online course. It's called Transforming Your Inner Critic into Your Inner Advocate. Take that course. Let me know what your thoughts are. I am happy to have those exchanges with you and talk to you about, your situation personally. And I've got a book coming out in just a couple of weeks. It's a workbook on goal setting. There's lots of pages for you to, after you do the initial work up front and get clear about your goals and what good goals are, there's a whole roadmap in there for you to break those goals down, from your big goals down to the activities that you're going to do every day. You'll hear more about that in the coming weeks, and it's going to be available on Amazon, I think May 29th. So it's coming up in just a couple of weeks from now. So I'm excited about that. I hope you guys will get it when it comes out. But in the meantime, focus on you and the life that you desire. Give yourself a good job every single day. Did you get through the day? Did you accomplish anything on your list? Encourage yourself and be clear and intentional about the life that you desire, and be willing to do the work to get there. Send me your email and I can forward you the course if you can't find it. It's absolutely no charge. Transforming your inner critic into your inner advocate. That's it for today, guys. Thank you all for sticking in. Thank you for your comments and keeping the conversation lively. I appreciate you very much. And I will be back tomorrow at 7:15 a.m. Central for a Thankful Thursday, where we'll talk about gratitude and ways to expand our gratitude and how we use that as a tool to combat some of the negative messages and things that can get in our way. All right. Have a great rest of your day, guys. And I will see you tomorrow, 7:15 Central. Bye-bye.